On today's episode, we preview Penn State versus Oregon in the Big Ten championship game this weekend and what the expectation should be for Penn State quarterback Drew Allar as he tries to make himself a potential first-round pick. That and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. And you know I got to kick the intro to Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at TheTalentCode. Keep talking to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ, man. And the other side of this dynamic duo that we like to call the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, here to bring you championship level content on, guess what? These championship episodes, baby. It is championship week, so we are covering all the championship games, man. And today we have the Big Ten. Tomorrow we are going through the SEC, but I want to start this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Every listen is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On. DP, I don't want to wait, man. I want to get into this championship level content, man. Offensive prospects, defensive prospects, X factors, Big Ten championship game, Penn State, Oregon. Let's get into it.
It is Crossover Thursday here at the Locked On NFL Draft Network, and Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Keith, when you think about this matchup, Penn State versus Oregon, Indianapolis, when you look at the offensive side of the ball, I'm going right to Penn State, and I got to start with the big fish there, Drew Allar. Mm-hmm. Like we've used the term resume game, multiple times for different guys this year. To me, this is one of those resume signature games, right? Where you just put your name on the dotted line. If the sheet says I'm a first round pick, this is where you put your name at the bottom of the sheet, Keith. If you're Drew Allar, because when you have his size, his arm talent, his mobility, those are the things that teams look for. He's not just a fastball pitcher because he knows how to mix in touch and when to use velocity, things of that nature. To me, this offense goes as he's able to go. And for Drew Allar, you had a resume game against Ohio State, but you were still hurt, right? You got hurt the week before. You weren't healthy. You weren't the best version of yourself. And now this has been about a month, I think, since that Ohio State game, since he got hurt. He's healthier. I think the knee brace is off now, so he's back to being this fully functional and mobile. I think this is a big-time game for him, a big-time opportunity, going up against a very talented Oregon Duck defense. They got second-level defenders that we'll talk about. They got cornerbacks that we'll get into, and they have a very good defensive line. If you are protected, Drew Allar, you got to operate and orchestrate this offense to the best of your ability. Don't get it twisted. It's only like 4 draftable prospects on their offense in terms of skill position. Drew Allar, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, and Tyler Warren. They don't have a receiver that we really will be able to hang our hat on, right? But still, I want to see Drew Allar just go out there and play his best ball, because if he plays his best ball and they have a defense in Penn State, who knows? They could end up walking out of there with an upset, Keith.
Yeah, no, 100% DP. And I called it right yesterday. I think there's a high chance that it could happen, man. I think there's a really high chance that it could happen. And so I'm going to look at Oregon, right? And who I look at for Oregon as far as offensive prospects to watch, I'm going to look at Dillon Gabriel, right? This is one of the best defenses that he's faced, right? And then we'll talk about Penn State's defensive prospects, because they do not lack on that side of the football, right? But he's going to have to make some plays, man. And you watch some of these Oregon games, they've been somewhat slow starts, right, by Dillon and offensively. And then sometimes, it feels like the offense probably runs through the running back more than Dillon at times, right? And so I look at Dillon and say, hey, can you avoid the turnovers, right? And this is a Penn State defense that pushed Ohio State to the brink. And like you said, man, if they just had one more offensive playmaker, and you just like, man, if y'all just had like a Jahan Dotson from a couple years ago, right? At the wide receiver position, y'all might have pulled off that upset, right? Just the Ohio State Penn State game. So I'm looking at Dillon Gabriel as the first offensive prospect to watch, and then I'm gonna transition DP to the wide receivers, right? Tez Johnson, Evan Stewart, smaller bodied wide receivers, right? And I want to see how do they deal with Penn State's defense, the physicality. You got Kevin Winston over the top. They have the other safety, right? Is Penn State going to press? Are they going to be able to get off of coverage? Just things like that when you watch this passing attack, because I think it's going to take more than Oregon just running the football to be effective, right? Like they're going to have to pass the football also.
No, 100%. Look, unfortunately, I think Kevin Winston might be out for the season because of that.
Okay.
They really have not disclosed what the injury is. They've been playing.
I thought he might have come back because they keep saying that, like, oh, maybe he'll come back. Maybe. So I was projecting.
They keep the door open, but nobody ever walks through it. It's just a door. And unfortunately, that's what they do in college. They don't have to report the injuries in college football. You know what I mean? So he just leave us out hanging out in the cold. I agree with you, though. Like, this is a game because they still have two other safeties that we'll get into and corners and everything. This is a game where, like you said, with Dillon Gabriel, with that pass rush that Penn State has that we'll get into, we can see him being sped up. If they can stop the run game, and that starts with Jordan James. Jordan James has been outstanding for Oregon this year. When I had a call with an agent, was kind of talking about him. He's like, man, like, what do you think about him? I'm like, I like the kid. I liked him coming out of the summer. I was like, man, with Bucky Irvin gone, this is his backfield. And they started out kind of slow with like featuring him the first, I think game or two. And then like after they realized, oh, he should probably be the heartbeat of our offense. Let's make him that. 206 carries on the season, 1,100, almost 12, a little over 1,100, almost 1,200 yards rushing, 13 rushing touchdowns, 5'10", 210. He's an NFL build. Nice footwork to be able to exchange gaps, jump cut laterally, but he runs behind his pads. And this is a guy that's just tough. He's tough. He's got good vision and patience. He's, again, like if he would declare, I'm not sure if can't remember if he's a senior or not, but if he declares just another name, no, he's a true junior. So he has another year of eligibility. I expect him to go back and just try to be one of the top guys. But like he's going to be the guy that they want to dictate the pace with. But I think that goes on the same side for Penn State with Nick Singleton. He's that home run playmaker with big time speed, but one of the better pass catching running backs in college football and in this draft class. Like they line him up at receiver and run routes with him, like slot fades, different things like that. He tracks the ball well, and him and Drew Allar have a connection. So I think that's going to be a big matchup, like who runs the ball better, who dictates the line of scrimmage and everything. And of course, the battle at tight end too, Keith Terrence Ferguson for Oregon. Can he's been coming on as of late and playing better ball, but can he outproduce Tyler Warren? Tyler Warren is probably going to eclipse 1,000 yards receiving just in this game. Terrence Ferguson, 35 catches for 490 and everything. But like I said, his past couple games, he's been pretty solid, especially coming off of the game. His last couple games, he got 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards, over 150 yards receiving. And the offense that has so many, Trayshawn Holden, the big body receiver, they got a lot of weapons over there in Oregon. So it's kind of like, hey, pick your poison. I get in where you fit in if you're Terrence Ferguson. But I think he has an opportunity to kind of make plays in the middle of that field where Penn State wants to stop Tez, stop Jordan, stop Evan Stewart from making big plays. This could be a big game for Terrence Ferguson. Can he outproduce the all-world tight end that is Tyler Warren, who basically does everything? Snap, throw the ball, wildcat quarterback. He does everything. I'm expecting to rush the passer at some point. He just does everything for Penn State, man. So this game is full of offensive playmakers that if you're scouting this game, you should have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, 100%. DP, Tyler Warren reminds me of Friday Night Lights, right? When the uncle is sitting in the stands with all the scouts, and he said, and he can pass, right? That's what Tyler Warren is.
Miles.
And he can pass. So definitely should be excited to watch. But DP, offensively, we discussed that. Let's get into these defensive prospects, man. We want to talk about some of these guys. Some of the highest rated prospects in the entire draft class are going to be played in this football game on the defensive side of the football. Let's get into that coming up next.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch or an urge in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. All you need to do to get in on the action is just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Again, you'll get started with $150 back in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. To get in on the action, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, 40 F-R-E-E free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, the introduction to free market economics, the Great American Story, a land of hope. All of the Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or you can simply just enjoy the lectures that they have. You don't really want to miss out on this free deal, guys. So go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Defensive prospects to watch when Penn State faces Oregon, Keith. I think you got to go to the trenches. You got to talk about Abdul Carter, right? Like seeing, I think it's a Johnny Cornelius and that tackle duo that Oregon has. They started the season off slow, but they've picked it up since like the halfway point and played better ball. Again, if you want to disrupt this passing offense, you got to get to Dylan Gabriel. And there's nobody like the way that Abdul Carter's been playing this year, especially after his slow start, he's kind of stamped himself as a top 15 pick at this point. And really, honestly, let's talk about a top 10 pick. And this is a game where I think if they can stop the run, they got to stop Jordan James. If they can stop the run or slow it down, make it ineffective on first and second downs early and put them in some third and longs, and you let him get after it, this is an opportunity for him to walk away with multiple sacks in this game, Keith. Like, Dylan Gabriel's he's a mobile quarterback, but still, like you want to get back there, hit him early, make him feel your presence, and just make him hear footsteps for the rest of the game. But that doesn't happen unless you get off to a fast start on that defensive line.
Yeah, you have to, right? And you have to dictate pace. And if, it's one of those things where you have to say, what they say, the old saying of you earn the right to rush passer, right? So you got to run first, right? And be able to put yourself in position. DP, I'm going to talk about Danny Sutton because he's been a fairly quiet name this entire draft process. And he was a guy that I had as a fringe top 100 player, right? And we know that so many edge rushers emerged, just this season, right? You talk about your Kyle Kennard, your Jared Ivies, Donovan Ezekariku, I think that's how you say it, from Boston College, right? And so where does he fall in that threshold of edge rushers now? I think this is a big time moment for him, right? To be able to go against some of those Oregon offensive tackles that you just talked about, AJ Cornelius, and then Josh Connolly, to be able to go against those guys in this big time moment, to be able to put pressure on Dylan Gabriel, right? And be like, hey, we're being disruptive up front. It's a 1-2 punch. It's not just Abdul Carter. It's also Danny Sutton. So I'm looking at Danny Denton as one of those guys too, to see what he's able to put on film this week.
He's been good when quarterbacks have to drop back. I go to the numbers, that true drop back pass rush win rate for him. For Danny Denton Sutton, he jumps up from a 15.8 to a 24.5%. Like he has 7 hurries, 9 QB hits, and 3 of his 4 sacks have come on true drop back sets. So like you said, earn the right to rush the pass, stop the run game, slow it down to where you can pin your ears back, you and Abdul, and you collapse the pocket from both ends, and then you force Dylan Gabriel, who is similar to like the Bryce Youngs, the Kyler Murrays. He's a shorter quarterback. So you want to force him up into the teeth of the defense where you have the big body defensive tackles where they can't really, you want to force him to not be able to find passing lanes. If you let him drop back and he gets depth where he then can see the entire rush coming at him, now he can get out the back door because he is a plus level athlete. Keith, I got to go to the defensive side of the ball for Oregon, right?
Yeah.
And for Oregon, man, like that D line is incredibly talented. Derek Harmon is like him and Jamari Caldwell, both transfers. Jamari Caldwell came from Houston. Derek Harmon came from Michigan State. I don't know how both of those teams lost these two dudes, but you talk about stopping the run game and putting you like if you're Oregon, you know you got Jabbar Muhammad out there, you got a good secondary. Penn State doesn't have any receivers. You want them to throw the ball 40 times. That's what you want. You don't want them to have a balanced attack. And I think Caldwell and Harmon are going to play a big part in that to be able to slow down that run game. And I'm going to throw this name out there for next year. I'm just let you guys know right now. Mateo Uyunglele, DJU's little brother, is probably going, not even probably, he's projected to be a first round pick and more than likely a top 20. Like this dude wrecks games. Like he is that freaking good. I think he leads them in sacks this year, and he looks like an NFL defensive lineman. They've Jordan Birch, their other edge rusher, he's been hurt this year, only played in 8 games, but when he's on the field, he also has 9 sacks on the season over there, as well as Mateo Uyunglele, man. So I look at this defensive line, earn the right to rush the passer, like you said with Penn State. Stop that run game. Stop Katron Allen. Stop Nick Singleton. Whenever you see Tyler Warren in the backfield, you know what's coming. That freaking run game with him running the ball. Stop that too. The Wildcat power and counter stuff. Slow that down, and you force Drew Allar to throw the ball in tightly contested windows because your secondary is going to make those windows very contested. Jabbar Muhammad has played pretty good football this year. Teams don't really test. The only team I think that really tested him was Ohio State. And that's because you got Jeremiah Smith. You know what I mean? Like it's just everybody don't have that. You know, everybody don't have a Jeremiah Smith on their team, Keith. So this Oregon defense, Jeffrey Bossa at the second level, the linebacker, former safety, convert the linebacker, explosive athlete, speed, can play downhill, drop off in coverage. This defense could give Penn State offense some trouble if they make them one-dimensional.
Yeah, DP, and I was going to talk about Jabbar Muhammad, but the thing is that, I mean, not only do people test him, right? And you look at Penn State and lack of wide receiver help, this is the one school you don't expect to test him, right? Like you don't think it's going to happen at all, but definitely a guy just to pay attention to because he may make plays, right? And I think about Penn State run game and things like that, and do they ever go some type of 3x1 or 4x1 set, right? Where Tyler Warren is on the, he's in a formation by himself, right? And do they just decide
like
to
put X receiver?
Yeah. And do they decide to put Jabbar Muhammad on him, right? There's different things that they can do. And should be interesting. I wonder if they mix them up, DP, because Jabbar has a nickel type of frame, right? Yeah. And I think if there's ever a game where you want to put a guy close to the line of scrimmage, kind of that Trent McDuffie-ish role, that's how I kind of think about when I think of Jabbar Muhammad. If there's any game that you want to do it's this game, right? Because you feel like if we could stop Penn State from running the football, we can make them one-dimensional and make them have to throw the football. So I think Jabbar Muhammad.
I like that Trent McDuffie call. I thought about Kenny Moore from the Colts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that just scrappy, instinctive, high football IQ, technically sound, like slot corner where it's like the quick game, he can eliminate, and he also will blitz, he'll play the run, he'll do different things. And Kenny Moore's one of the best slot corners in the NFL, and you need guys like that, Keith. On Penn State real quick because like I said, with Kevin Winston being out, like it put Jalen Reed, the 6'1", 212-pound safety who's in this class, put more of a spotlight on him. And then Zaki Wheatley, 6'2", 200 pounds, also a senior safety. And against this, I wonder how much, like you talked about with Oregon, I wonder if we see a lot of press man from Penn State with too high, like 2 man under. I wonder if we see a lot of that, where you play both of those safeties at the top. But see, that's That's the difficult thing with Oregon's offense because of Tez Johnson and how they get him the football. Can you play too high because they like to get him the ball, manufacture touches, and underneath? Can you even risk going too high safety, or do you try to play cover one, bring that strong safety into the box to play the run, and also try and do some robber technique to double and bracket a Tez Johnson?
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be interesting, DP. And I want to get into, because you talked about the too high situation, but my X Factor player is going to have something to say about that. So coming up next, man, we're going to talk about the X Factor guys in this matchup, Big Ten Championship, Penn State versus Oregon. Coming up next.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Keith, who is your X Factor prospect to watch in this matchup?
Oregon running back Jordan James. I think he's the X factor, DP, because I agree with you that Penn State can go too high, right? But guess what? If you get 7 in a box and not 8, Oregon has shown a willingness to run the football and be committed to the run, right? And I feel as though Jordan has been, you know how you talk about like a team MVP, right? Like he won't win the Heisman, but like a team MVP, like probably the most important person on this team is probably Jordan James. If he's not a good, like a third roundish running back, right, and he's more of a 6th roundish running back, we don't know if Oregon wins all of these games, because some of these games, they offensively, they start slow, right? The passing attack doesn't appear to be all the way on. And I mean, it could just sometimes, I don't want to say sleepwalking, right? But I mean, showing up against Maryland or Illinois, or I'm not exactly sure of the schedule, right? Sometimes it's just hard to get up, right? Hard to be extremely motivated. But Jordan has been a consistency for them this run game, and especially when they need it, right? Like he's the guy that if it's a 1-score game, he makes it a 2 to 3 score game, right? Like give him the rock, let's get the rhythm, let's build it through him, and then we could build play action, and then now, you know, all of a sudden the passing attack looks well. So I think Jordan James is going to be the X factor. I think it's going to be Oregon's running game that's going to be the most important part. And so that's why you look at Penn State's defense also. It's like you said, schematically, what do you do? Do you put 8 in the box and then risk Tez Johnson, Evan Stewart going over the top of you? Or do you make them say, hey, we're going to keep the game close, and then when we get in the red zone, we'll make you kick 3 instead of taking 7, right? Something like that. So I think that's what this game is going to come down to. And there's one draft prospect to keep your eye on. I think it's him.
No, I like that a lot. He's simply for the fact of, like you said, it just changes the way you have to defend them. And that's the conundrum defensively you're put into, because when you have Evan Stewart, who we watched, when Dylan Gabriel wants to throw the ball outside the numbers and down the field, he's looking at Evan Stewart's way, or he'll look Trayshawn Holden's way as well. When they want to get the ball out, get yards after the catch, it's Tez Johnson, right? Like that's the guy that they target. So you might have, and then you factor in the run game with Jordan James. Yeah, you play single high, might be some cover 3, you know what I mean, where you keep all eyes looking forward, guys get to their landmarks, their drops, and you are paying attention to what route concepts. You don't give up anything over the top. You rally to the ball underneath and try to limit a Tez Johnson while also being able to try and put your best foot forward and stopping the run. To stop the run, Keith, I think that second level of the Penn State defense is going to be paramount. Their linebacker, Kobe King, 6'1", 250. He's been one of their best defenders, and especially against the run this season. I think over around 50 tackles this year. He's a versatile guy because they will blitz him. He's got 10 hurries, 2 hits on the quarterback, also 3 sacks.
He's a sophomore. He's a
I
sophomore.
think he's a senior. He's
Oh,
a
he's
senior.
a senior. Okay.
So, yeah, so
Okay.
he's in this class. He's in this class, man. And I think for him, playing with your eyes forward, man. You get reading the action because they do some RPO stuff. Like they'll put the ball in, and they'll show the ball to Jordan James, pull it out through the glance route, different things like that. Like that RPO game is where Dylan Gabriel has always been pretty good at in the play action. You got to be able to have that second level defender that, hey, slow until you know when you see it open and you see the ball, you know where the ball is, track it, get to it, slow it down. Don't allow Jordan James to not just get upfield, but get through the line of scrimmage unscathed, right? We see a lot of that with certain running backs. Man, they get through the line of scrimmage untouched. Now these guys have full speed. And when you're 210 pounds and you try to stop that locomotive and that type of frame at full speed, that's not a fun time for a defender. You don't want to put your corners in that situation anyway. You know what I mean?
No.
He gets to his first level, jump cuts outside. Now you got your corner. Oh, well, you tackle Jordan James. You know what I mean? Like, no, like Kobe King, to me, like this is a big time opportunity for him to just not stamp himself, put his name on the map. Like, no, like again, keep talking about it. Nobody's studying the linebackers and safeties in this class. So it's like, hey, until the narratives, think about it, there's no narratives built about the linebacker class right now.
Right.
Like we got narratives for receiver and quarterback and tight end and O-line, even though it's not the greatest narrative, but there's narratives. There's no narrative for the linebacker class. Well, you know what, Kobe King? Let's start the narrative. Go out here and ball out this week. He's my X factor for this matchup. If he has a big game, limiting the run game, also he drops off in the coverage, and he's a pretty solid coverage defender as well. Opportunity to really like help that defense get off the field on third downs. That's going to be the key, Keith. Get off the field. Get off the field on third downs. Get the ball back to your offense. Give them a chance to find their rhythm. Because if you get long drives, they keep converting. Yeah, that's not a good look.
Yep, no, 100% DP. And I like that you mentioned Kobe King and we talked about Abdul Carter. I know everybody talks about Abdul Carter, the edge rusher, but I've been on tap saying this, and I hope that he proves me right in this game that, like I say, that the comparisons to Micah Parsons, obviously they're there. I think he's a better off-ball linebacker than what Michael Parsons was. And so that's going to be very important, right? Because when you have a guy that line up at edge rusher, right, if you just run away from him, he's pretty much eliminated, right? But if you could put that guy as stacked back or on rundowns, right, maybe first down, you can't really run away from him. He's in the middle of the defense, right? If he could flow sideline to sideline. So definitely looking for that. DP, you mentioned Drew Allar, right? What does he have to do? Because at the end of the day, he's going to be an X factor player, right? Like he can't have a average game, right? He definitely can't have a below average game, right? So what do you think the stat line for Drew has to be to win this football game?
I think for Drew, 250 passing, probably another 60 on the ground, 40, anywhere from 40 to 60 on the ground, and 2-3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Don't turn the ball over. Take what they give you early. Like I think that's a lost art in quarterback play is taking what the defense gives you early in the game. Because if they're giving you something underneath, take it. We've seen Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees. Okay, cool. You want to give me that 5-yard out? I'm gonna take that 5-yard out. And the moment you start creeping down, then I'm gonna hit you over the top. I'm gonna hit you up the seam for 15, 20 yards and create an explosive play. He's got to, don't get me wrong, the receivers got to do their job. Like he's got dimes on tape where the receivers just drop. And I'm just like, what is happening in Penn State? Right? They're top receivers in Auburn right now. Like, man, they would have loved to still have him. You should open up the NIL paycheck and wallet and just give him a blank check at that point. But I think for Drew Allar, no turnovers, just be a versatile threat, right? When they give you opportunities to run, and that pass rush dictates it. Run, right? Get out of the pocket, get upfield, get what's there. Again, take what they give you. If it's 5-yard run on 1st and 10, now it's 2nd and 5. Stay ahead of the chains. Play smart, play headsy football, and when the opportunity comes to take a shot, then you take the shot, right? But just don't force it into no windows. Don't start pressing. Just play. I want them to kind of find that mixture between being the guy and then playing point guard. And I think that's a big thing for me. I think we said that last week about Cam Ward going to the Syracuse game. Cam did that. He knew when to be the guy. He knew when to just be the point guard. Defense couldn't do anything for him. You know what I mean? In this situation, Drew, just do that same thing and just hope that your receivers can get open. And James Franklin, y'all need to call some plays to get these guys open. Like, figure it out. Get these guys open, because Oregon will give you some man-to-man, and they'll give you one-on-ones, and you need to be able to exploit that if they do. How can you exploit it? Right now, I can't tell you because I don't like the receiver talent, but you got to figure it out somehow.
Yep, no, I agree 100% with DP. That wraps up another episode, man. A championship level episode, man. A Big Ten championship level episode of Locked On NFL Draft. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Every listen is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find me on X at You can find him on X, at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Stop for being out every day. Is on tomorrow's show, guys. We're closing out the week with the SEC championship game. Texas, they say they're hosting Georgia. It's in Atlanta. Yeah, right. Texas and Georgia. Part 2. Can Quinn Ewers resurrect his draft stock? We'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.